That.
Muted the whole class. Okay.
That would be fine.
You're all set to go.
All right.
Have lots of fun.
Thanks. Good day. All right. Well, maybe on realtor time, looks like.
Yeah, we might have a small class today too. I think we've maxed out at maybe 6 people in one
Oh,
of these
really?
night classes. Yeah. So.
That's pretty typical. I mean, it's just, finding the right time, the right days.
Yeah.
So it's all good. Got a couple people in here. Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm James.
James, nice to meet
Kendall.
you.
Kendall, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We got William. And we got Travis just popping through. You'll hang for a bit. Great. Good job. Let's, I guess, confirm, is everybody in the right place? This is Ignite. Session 13. You guys have done 13 sessions already? Or this will be the 13th?
13, we're halfway through now.
On Friday.
When did it start? How long have you guys been going? Beginning of the month? Nice. Have you guys done the Ignite before? I think you have, correct? Yeah. You have as well? Okay. Okay, nice. And so, yeah, just so I have an understanding, you got licensed in July.
Yeah, this is in the end of May.
End of May, okay. William, you've been licensed since, well, forever, as far as I know, down in Alabama, right? Mississippi, what am I saying, Alabama? And Travis, you've been licensed for a while as well, a few years, yeah, nice. All right, well, got it. Well, so just, again, confirming we're in the right place, qualified potential buyers and sellers is what we're getting into. I don't know how structured the other folks have ran this. I'm gonna make it as much Q&A. We can go down rabbit holes as much as you guys want. It's not, the material is simple, but as simple as it is, a lot of people don't utilize these tools. So I think we'll also in like what we do a little bit differently or what I've done in my experience, but we'll kind of stick to it. But if you guys want to get into anything else, I'm happy to dive into that too. Is there anything in particular you guys have questions specifically? I mean, I don't know if you previewed the material or if there's anything concept wise that you have questions on that you want to make sure we cover. I'm always open to that as well.
No question.
Oh, okay, perfect. Do you need, I think we have, do you want to, I think there's a copy somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, message it. Yeah, you're good. You're good. I know. Well, that's the one thing. Sometimes pressing pause on the business while you're sitting training can be difficult. So
I think the best classes I think we have been like open discussion, collaborative, kind of off script.
Yep, I love that.
The most.
That's my jam. I mean, there's a few things I have to read, for compliance sake, right, and liability and whoever's listening. But yeah, that's how I prefer it as well because I think that's the best way to learn. And everybody's got different ideas and different experiences from other industries and just other deals that they've done. So I don't know. I know Travis and William. This is the first time I feel like I've seen you guys. I don't think we formally met. But my name's James Harris. I'm with the sugar reader with KW7 Hills, part of Peter's team.
Yeah.
Uh,
We met, like,
That's right. That's right.
I came in
Yeah.
and interviewed.
Ah, that's right. Okay, great. Yeah. And what else? So my role there is the executive director. So I run the day-to-day for Peter and the team. Still in production, been licensed since 2014. Joined Peter in 2016. Kind of got off the ground as an ISA and went straight to listing specialist and did that for 7-8 years and started transitioning to leadership a couple years ago. So here we are. So yeah. All right. So let's get into it. I guess from the previous class, are you guys doing the Legion sessions like post class, like right after the class ends? Are you guys doing the role play scripting? Okay.
Really,
So that's
definitely,
definitely
we just kind of did that into our work.
Yeah,
yeah.
which is
Okay.
pretty much the activity.
Right.
list, The daily.
That's what I was kind of curious about because we're supposed to review like how did yesterday's Legion session go? And so I guess on that note, when was the last session for you guys?
Yesterday.
That was yesterday. So since then, how was your Legion yesterday? Just curious. Contacts. Are you guys tracking any of that? Contacts, dials, set, met, signed? Anybody want to report on that?
I don't-
Maybe we start with a couple seasoned vets first.
There you go.
Yeah, yesterday, no. Normally, yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm putting you on the spot, so
No, you're fine.
I'm getting back into it as well. So I'll share mine in a second. What do you got? Yeah, no, that's the point, right? Great. Anything?
So I'm still shuffling through my database, trying to make all those calls,
Yeah.
contacts on my phone.
Yeah.
I've loaded them on to Command. You guys use a different software,
We
right?
do. Yeah, but Command is great. I mean, it's built similarly. Yeah. So you're getting people loaded in there, starting to add notes and all the things.
Yesterday, well, I was just about to say, yesterday was my first time on adding notes.
Great.
It started, I went through my log of phone calls for the past few weeks and tried to add as many people that I had called and just made a note of that.
Yeah.
And then anything else that I remember.
That's what it takes. I mean, it's a little tedious, but you kind of got to get that started to kind of have a baseline to work off of. And how about you?
Let's see, so yesterday I had lunch with a connector friend, and she told me about people that need to buy a house.
Okay.
And that made me remember, I gotta call those other people. So I had to follow up.
Right.
She's my connector
Mm-hmm.
friend, I'm like, oh yeah, Andy. So I had to, call them, they know people that are also looking for the house.
Right.
And then, from my newsletter, I had a friend call me and ask about, they just have a situation, she doesn't know what to do, should they downsize, should they sell their house, should they rent their house?
Yeah.
All those things.
Great.
I just get her on it's just the very beginnings.
Yeah. Well, that's the conversations. I mean, you kind of touched on something briefly around, you had a lunch, had basically got some sort of referral, and then it's like you get back in your car and you're running around, running and gunning, and then it's like, oh, that's right, I got to remember to follow up with so-and-so. And I think like that's going to continue to not plague you, but like that is something that we struggle with, like, because you're going to get those conversations or opportunities to pop up. You get distracted with the next call, the next thing, and it's like, oh, I forgot to call so-and-so. And then, so how you track that kind of stuff is going to get better. Putting notes in the system, reminders, using all the tech and the tools, or maybe just notebook, that's the old school way. So
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yep. All right. So we won't review lead gen anymore, but regarding, so like the main objectives for today, let me touch on these really quick. We must comply with the TCPA and any other federal, state, local law. You guys have seen this before, right? KWRI is carefully prepare all the materials to just make sure that we're compliant with all of that and we're not, telling you to call the DNC and whatnot. So fair housing. Okay. So we're straight into it. So today's agenda, we're going to go over where and how to lead generate providers. So we're going to be classifying those leads by ability and motivation, and we're going to be qualifying A buyers and sellers, in preparation for those appointments. So again, the main goal here is right now it feels like you maybe have all the time in the world, maybe not, but as you're getting your business started, you've got an endless amount of time. You have more time than opportunity, but very quickly as you start getting those showings, getting those appointments, how to prioritize people, and I mean, not necessarily in a monetary way, but basically prioritize opportunities and set them up so you make sure nothing slips through the cracks is going to be key. So that's what we're going to go through. And again, I kind of already asked questions. Is there anything in particular to this specific topic or anything else you guys have covered that you have questions about already that you want to make sure we hit? Or we'll just press and you guys throw it out, shout it out. Okay.
Well, I'm quickly learning that I need to strategize better my day-to-day, like my lead gen for sure. If I can write, I don't know the best system, but maybe the night before coming in with a list for the next day of what I need to call for the day.
Yeah.
So that way I'm not just kind of scrolling through trying to pick who's going to be my best call.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be. We could dive into that at any point, but you definitely don't want your days to be random. Not only from what you're focused on during the day, but also even prioritizing, say like, okay, I know I'm going to be prospecting from 9 to 10 a.m. tomorrow, but that's great. But if you wait to sit down at 9 to then figure out who you're actually going to call, it's gonna get messy quickly. So it's almost like you wanna have, initially, it may just be, I'm gonna focus on Sphere. But then from there, you can even, I mean, within Command, the way you, are you guys doing the, oh shoot, the, what is it called? Is it the database two, DTD2, which is basically how you remember who to call based on last names, letters. Like
Yeah,
letters,
like 2 letters.
AW, yeah, exactly. So that's a key way to really kind of clean it down. So like, there's no guesswork. It's like you know exactly who to call. And then as you start getting more prospects and adding more leads, that's where we're going to talk about like ABC clients, prioritizing your time. So, and within Command, how do they rank? Do they have it warm, cold, hot, or how do you guys do it in Command?
No, I haven't seen that button. It's like a spear tag, but I don't.
There's a opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, the opportunity.
Well, based on opportunities, but is there a way to kind of rank the warmth? Like, so within Follow Up Boss, we utilize like,
They offer.
yeah. And that's a way to really look at it too. So we have it in our system in stages where basically a hot lead is considered like this is somebody that's doing something in the next like 30 days or less. Or they've indicated through conversation, or maybe they're like a 60 to 90 or 60 or 120, and then cold maybe beyond that. Yeah, it's still follow up. Yeah.
And do you have strategies how you attack those clients differently? Those leads?
Absolutely.
Or
Well, the
maybe a hot
conversations
lead
are
you
gonna be
reach
different.
out more often?
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll get a little further into that as you're kind of, because sometimes it's hard to know where to put people, frankly, and because things can change and based on your understanding of the conversation. So, yeah. So anytime, you know, again, you guys have questions, I was going to say specifically to your question about how to prioritize time. A couple things, I think, great books that were, if you haven't read The One Thing by Gary,
That's
it's a key book. There's also a great one I'm revisiting now. I read it probably years ago, probably 8 or 9 years ago. And I'm just kind of going back through it with fresh eyes. It's called Eat That Frog
Oh, yeah.
by Brian
Great book,
Tracy.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's so thin, it's so simple. But
It's a
like,
classic.
yeah, it really is. And like, we try to get overcomplicated with like, you know, different apps for, you know, managing time and different special type of notebooks and things. But, you know, at the end of the day, like legal pad can get it done if need be, you know? So, okay.
You know, furnace.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Knock it out in the morning.
So,
Nice guy.
so from the Shift book, Gary, of course, number one job as a real estate agent is to find ways to get in the path of motivated buyers and sellers, right? That is ultimately like our only job, I mean, at the end of the day. So the lead gen and follow-up habits that you've started, I guess, you know, from the other sessions and some of the daily lead gen that you guys are getting into is, as Gary says, the number one job we have. The second part of the quote really is about motivation. So it's figuring out who is motivated, because that's where you want to be spending 20% of your time. You can easily, and as you get more of a pipeline built, you'll easily find like sometimes the not the 20, but the other, you know, the other bulk of your time could be not wasted, but there's people that are going to grind you up, and if they're not ready, willing, or able, and we're going to talk about that in more detail, you can lose a lot of time. You can spend 45 minutes on a phone call that maybe that person needs credit repair or whatever it may be, and they're going to be a much longer time. Not that you shouldn't care and spend time with them, but like it can really grind you up a little bit. So we're going to be covering how to qualify leads, contacts, etc. in that regard. So finding the motivated. So we don't have to beat this to death, but is there anything from a myth or a misunderstanding related to, I guess, specific to just lead gen in general? Is there anything like kind of holding you back? For example, like when I first got licensed in 2014, I was mainly focused on investing, but as I started to transition and do a few more consumer jobs or consumer transactions part-time, I really was so focused on like what I thought was important was having good website, cards, a brand, social media, but I wasn't actively prospecting. And, you know, I'd done a few deals and Peter cold called me. And then what I realized is like, I had spent so much time and energy trying to finesse these posts that I was making and like internet, like website branding, which all that plays a role. But it really just boiled back to as soon as I got on the phone, had some basic scripts, that's really where the momentum started to take off. And so is there anything for you guys that you're kind of like caught up in or worried about related to finding buyers and sellers? No?
No, I'll share. I think I'm getting more excited about trying to find myself in the right place at the right time. So like, for example, yesterday I was talking to Doug from the Shrewd Group. I'm not with Doug. He was telling me he was just at the mechanic one day and had his computer out, he's working around, and you know, the lady working there. It's just like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm catching up on my real estate. And then she was, you know, like, thank God I'm looking to sell my house. I think he had a listing contract out there.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, Doug's
been
great.
wearing my name tag whenever I go shopping, whatever it is at the store. So
I mean, it truly is like so many of us, you know, myself included, there's opportunity like right in your face in your day to day. And most of us are just not in that mode if we're at the grocery or whatever. We're kind of like secret agents. It's almost like we're reluctant to share or we feel like, but even something like that, he put himself in a position. He wasn't like walking around the mechanic shop like handing out cards like a sleazy sales guy. He was just doing his thing. He pretty much always has something, either his name tag, some sort of TCG or Seven Hills branding on. And so it just creates conversation. You have to, you know, you kind of have to be listening for those opportunities. Absolutely. So related to that, so kind of continuing on, this gets into kind of where buyers are found. Now, this says this survey is from 2021. That's probably a misprint because I feel like they've done this more recently. The NAR runs this every couple of years. But to your point, like, can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Is it in your book as well?
No.
So to kind of break it down, the NAR, they collect that data every year on transactions. So I guess is there an aha or what's obvious in this? Like, what do you guys take away from this? So all buyers, first time buyers, repeat buyers.
most of it's coming from your sphere.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you got your friends who are connectors, and I mean, 10% of your sphere is going to give you a referral.
Yeah.
8% are going to do this.
Yeah.
But then you think about who in your friend list knows a bazillion people.
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
exponential.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. I mean, well, I mean, I think like, you know, for the Shrewd specifically, our closed transaction is about, it makes up about repeat referral past client is about 65% of our business. And the bulk of I mean, of course, we're doing all the other things too, website, internet leads. I mean, what I find interesting is like we spend so much time focused on like all these other things like signage and like websites and whatnot, but it really doesn't necessarily move the needle. I'd be curious again if this actually is 2021 data, or a bit more updated. But at the end of the day, referral and repeat is always leaps and bounds above everything else, including sellers as well.
Well, I think it's interesting is how low the numbers are for the open house.
Yeah.
Because it's such a pushed activity.
And your leads from an open house are probably warmer than most of your cold calls from your sphere.
Well, 100,
I went back to let's see, this is buyers.
I mean, you're meeting people at the open house, so they've met you, so yes, like, they are warmer because they've met you in person.
Mhm.
But I don't think they're not warmer than your sphere. And
Well, but if they're getting out of their house to go see an open house, right?
Yeah, but think about like how many open houses would you need to host that actually get traffic? Who here has hosted an open house recently? Or in the past month or two, right? And how many, you know, sometimes it's feast and sometimes it's famine.
Yeah.
And so the amount of people that the amount of open houses that you would need to host to have the same number of contacts that your spirit has sitting that you can literally just pick up and create conversation for, you're right. You're absolutely right. Like open house for our process, like open houses is a key thing we push, especially new agents to just get traction, but also to start adding people to their database. Because very rarely, at least personally, have I sold a home. Actually, only once have I ever sold a home to an open house buyer that walked in and they bought that house. Now, do they typically maybe have an agent already? Sure. That creates conversations, you know, you want to collect their information, and if you're a good open up like listing agent, you're going to follow up with that agent, create, you know, that's what I did. They walked through. I called the agent. She's like, oh, I didn't even know they were out looking, and we got the deal together. But otherwise, typically, I'm adding them to my database. That's a contact. They know people. But to your point, like there are nosy neighbors and looky-loos and things like that. But typically, somebody coming through is a little more motivated. I mean, open houses kind of went away for a while. I think they've come back fully now, and they're definitely a proponent. But to your, you know, our point, I guess, is like sometimes you'll have crickets there, and then other times you'll have 12 or 15 people through. It just varies, you know. But it's all about how you host it, how you follow up. It should just be a part of your plan, you know. But I think, did you guys do? I think was there an Ignite class on open houses specifically?
Yeah.
Was
The
it?
one that Celeste
Celeste did one.
Okay. And there, I mean, but collaborate with, I mean, so many agents have different styles and ways and strategies. I mean, it's got to kind of match your personality, how you do it. Whatever it is, don't be that person that's just like sitting in the kitchen, like fiddling on your phone, like not greeting people as they come in, not engaging. Like our process is kind of more survey oriented, you know, because a lot of times if we're hosting an open house, it's not actually out listing, like some of our agents host for other people. So they're trying to convert that buyer into their own lead, not give it back to the listing agent. So, but how you engage, you could be not only winning the buyer, but you could also, it could be interviewing as a seller, because there may be a nosy seller down the street. It's like kind of checking you out. So how you show up and how you present is going to convey to them. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think, make sure if there's anything to land there else. I mean, I guess the key is like, the key aha really is that you don't want to be secret and you want to be in a relationship. I wish they had the stats around because they're pretty glaring. I forget what the percentage is offhand. It's like 80% of consumers that use a real estate agent in the past that have transacted, maybe you guys have seen the data more recently, let me know and update it. But basically they used a real estate agent and they would use that agent again, but they didn't because they weren't in contact. They just stopped. And I know right here, right now, I'm just as guilty as the next. Like there have been moments where I like going through my sphere and I realized like, oh, I closed a deal with that guy like 18 months ago. And besides some automated stuff going out on my behalf, I have not initiated a phone call. And it's just like something that maybe slipped through the cracks. And that, you know, that conversation could be uncomfortable. So that's where the system and command is key. Like make sure you've got your tasks and follow up in there. Oh, yeah. Talking about. So, yeah. So you guys have been going through that already, right? And you're pretty. Is everybody using Command? Or are you guys using anything else like fully Command? I mean, it's a great system. And like Travis was saying earlier about opportunities, right? So that is the word that they use to define sales, kind of the pipeline in the system, right? You have your contacts there, and then from those you create opportunities when they arrive. So you wouldn't necessarily have your database sitting in there. You pull them into an opportunity when they're ready. So the best practice it says is to put your A, B, and C potential clients into the opportunities pipeline to make sure you're tracking the progress. So, and that's, I mean, I think that's pretty straightforward. You guys have been going through that. Okay. I don't know if there's any aha yet. We've probably talked about it. You guys have anything?
I think it's just an interesting point. I talked about once you have a buyer, so it's sort of, and not losing contact, so that it's figuring out what is your system for, what's your value system for staying in contact with them. So I was just thinking like, if I had a buyer that bought a new lead, I would be contacting them about the events and happenings or a new restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they always thought of me. They know 10%. They refer me to 10% of the people. So if I did a good job, they'd be like, you have to use our agent.
Yeah.
But they forget about it.
Yeah. It can get a little overwhelming though to think about all the ways to try to add value to all the people in all the parts of Greater Cincinnati that you're working with. Like, you know, and you can set a vision and kind of build out a massive like project and system and farming and whatever it may be, but you really have to kind of almost chunk it down to like, okay, what can I do like this week to move the needle, for those people? So really, it's just having a better way to capture. I think, it starts really with just like having a system, whatever it is, whether it's notes on your phone, just making sure that you don't miss those opportunities and conversations. Because again, that's also another terrible feeling is like you had a call, you got an inbound, conversation or voicemail or something, and you just get sidetracked. And then it's like 2 weeks later, you realize like, oh, I forgot to call so-and-so back. And then you hit the MLS and not speaking from experience at all, and it's listed already. Like it happens. And so I think like, yeah, to your point, like it's, taking notes on people, building up to that. I wouldn't necessarily obsess over like curating perfect content to that, but staying in contact, even like truly just phone calls and texts and check-ins, video texts, I think is a big thing, an opportunity as well.
Well,
So
like, I think command is really great because you can tag a neighborhood, you can tag them as a neighborhood. So like all your clients in Oakland, and then just be like,
Yeah.
hey, the market, whatever, the market is starting in Oakley this weekend around 2 minutes. And then
it's great.
you
You
can
can blast everybody, kind of hit everybody with a text or email about it.
And you could tag them Oakley, Hyde Park, you could tag a bunch of neighborhoods.
Yeah. That's great.
That's a lot of tags.
It sorts them that way,
Sorts of tags.
regardless of what
Yeah,
they're
it's not
doing.
individual.
Yeah, sure. No, that'd be great. Okay. Okay. So, kind of switching gears. So classifying your buyers into A, B, and C. I'm sure you guys have heard ready, willing, and able, or ready, able, willing. You heard that concept? Ready, willing, and able. Buyers, sellers. No. Okay. It's kind of a concept. I've actually never heard it outside of real estate before. And I've never actually heard it this way as well, but able, ready, and willing is kind of the better way to really think of it in regards to real estate. When you're talking about kind of classifying buyers and sellers. And the reason we start with able, even though all leads and contacts kind of have a potential for, closing, some contacts may not be able to. Right? Like that's truly what it boils down to. They may have a desire, they maybe have a need, maybe their lease is coming due, so they want it, they're willing, they're I wouldn't necessarily say they're ready, they're open to it. But if they're not actually able to pull the trigger, if they're not able to sell or they're not able to buy, the able is really the key piece. For example, like a potential buyer, I guess what are some examples of a buyer not being ready to buy or able to buy? Right.
It's not very true.
Okay. But anything specific, what could that mean? Like credit,
Yeah,
They
credit
want-
or employment.
employment, down
That's
payment
income.
assistance, DTI. Yep, that's income. What was it? Money is saved, right? Yep. And then on the seller side, anything that would make somebody maybe not able to sell.
Divorce.
Okay, right.
Uh,
Sometimes you're kind of tied up and you've got to wait for something to process. Yeah.
Yeah, or husband, wife won't sign.
Right.
Whatever it is. Contentious. It's like contentious divorce,
You will encounter those. Yes.
house not ready, house not.
Yeah.
Some buyer or
Sure.
sellers are like, oh, he's not.
Right. We can talk a little bit about that. I think that can get into the prequel too, because I think there's a lot of, you're going to be debunking or a lot of preconceived for buyers and sellers, like digging into their misunderstanding around what they need to do, maybe what their perception of it, like maybe they don't think they qualify to buy a home, but in fact they could, or a seller may feel like they need to do X, Y, Z, when in reality, there's no need. And so part of that's the conversation through prequel. I think another would be like, kind of like in the same vein as the divorce, it could be like not having full rights to the property. Like sometimes we get leads and inbound calls that are like, oh, I'm selling this property for my father-in-law or my father. They're, who they don't have POA, they don't have specific documentation in place, or maybe there's liens on the property, they're not mortgage specific, that would just be paid off. Maybe there's things to uncover and dig out there. So So that's why we spend a lot of time on that specifically is the able piece. So we're quoting Gary a lot. Focus becomes increasingly possible in direct proportion to how clear you are about what you want, when you want it, what you must do to get it. So it's not just the agents, that doesn't just apply to us, but it's also to buyers and sellers as well. You know, they know what they want, when they want, what they need to do to get it. It's our role really to help them be clear on that, help them find the right property and close the transaction. I think a lot of it is like, sometimes we can come across, when you're trying to qualify somebody and determine if they're able, it can be tricky to navigate like how much time and attention we'll give them when it's pretty clear maybe that they're not going to be able yet. And we've had agents, and myself included, I think it's natural to know, like, when you kind of feel like, okay, this is probably not going to be able to do anything, but it starts taking a lot of your time and balancing, like, treating them well and making sure that they maybe at least have the steps. And, you know, I think that's where having good partners with lenders, you know, somebody that, you know, lenders that do a great job with helping people through credit issues. And I think that's where the consultation or at least a prequel can help them uncover some next steps, and they can get them the help that they need. How do you guys, I mean, how would you go about, I guess, determining whether a buyer or a seller would be able to do business in the next like 2 to 3 weeks? Have you guys started getting into that any conversations yet? I know it's kind of still early, but have you had anybody, like, what would be like the clear indicators, like, okay, these people are able, ready, willing? They're like, I guess in command, it's gonna be, what's your A buyer, right? What does that look like?
I don't think I know the difference between A, B, and C buyers. It's just they are the most willing, able, and ready.
Yeah, yeah, I think we're gonna classify it specifically here in just a second, but able is the potential client is financially and legally capable of completing a transaction now. Ready means they're motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions now. Is this in your?
No. That is not.
Oh. Right here, page, what do you guys have?
13.4.
Yeah.
It has that.
Okay, well, here, I'll give it to you.
Define
How do you
it.
define it? I'll give it to you. So able is potential client is financially and legally capable of completing a transaction. I feel like that's more like not tactical or technical. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's legally and financially. It has nothing to do with their motivation, mentally, their misconceptions, there's a concept. You guys are familiar with what objections are? Are you familiar with like conditions? So there's two. You can categorize them kind of differently within real estate. I'm sure there's other definitions, but I think of it as objections and conditions. Objections are, I mean, you can't define a word by using the word in the definition, right? You're not supposed to, but objections are things that can be handled through your scripting, role play, problem solving. You know, those are movable. Those are maybe misunderstandings that they have, misconceptions, misinformation. Conditions are, it doesn't matter how great of a salesperson you are, how great of a fiduciary you are, you're not going to get somebody to move based on your, you know, word jujitsu to help them move forward. You know what I mean? So I always have thought about that. Like, if I'm having trouble moving somebody forward, I really try to understand, like, okay, am I trying to like handle a condition with my skills and whatever, when in reality, like, there's nothing that's going to make this person motivated. They may be able, right? So that's, again, financially, legally capable. Ready is potential client is motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions now. That's a little bit different. That's more, in my thought, is more of a, that's a more of a mental state. That's more of a, not a mindset or emotion driven, but
They decide.
correct. Yeah, it is more mental. There's nothing that needs to physically happen. It's more like their perception of what's happened has changed, shifted, whatever it may be. And then lastly is willing, which is they're eager to buy, sell, or both. So that was a little more nuanced, I guess, or vague, I think. Able is key, because if they're not able, it's irrelevant how motivated they are, or ready or willing they are. So, what's that?
An objection is basically just something that there's a question that hasn't been answered.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, and the quicker you can get to your first objection, you're gonna have objections, whether they come at the beginning or they come at the end. The quicker you can get to an objection, the quicker you can kind of uncover what their misunderstandings are. That's why with KW scripts, with our scripts, like that, those that you want to get to those objections as soon as possible. That's why, you know, even if there's any kind of indication that they're ready, willing, and able, like trying to close for some sort of I call them micro commitments. If they're not quite ready, maybe to come in, would they take a call from a lender? Maybe you send a follow-up call. Maybe you do a Zoom, but like getting straight to asking them something so they can give you the objection that's already floating around in their mind around, well, I've got a friend that's an agent. What's this deal with NAR and commission now? Like, I'm busy, whatever it is, like the quicker you get to objections, the quicker you can kind of uncover, you know, and even like trial closers are key with that too. Like, you know, within our listing presentation, once you went through all the things, like towards the end, before you get into pricing, one of the questions is like, so great, is there any other, besides discussing price and getting to the paperwork, are there any other questions and concerns you have about working with my team and moving forward? That trial close tries to clear the deck of anything else before I get to the stuff that they're probably gonna most likely object on. So outside of price, commission, paperwork, is there anything else? Because if they bring up, oh, I've got a friend that I want to interview, well, then I can handle that objection. Or if oh, well, you didn't mention this in the marketing, well, great, we can circle back, clear that objection, and then get back to closing. So, yeah. Yeah, that's a great.
What's the difference between a ready and willing buyer?
Yeah, so ready says potential client is motivated and prepared to make strategic decisions now. Willing, potential client is eager to buy, sell, or both. I guess ready is, there's a little bit of nuance to that, but not much. I think willingness is more of like maybe excitement, eagerness, like they're willing, like they're sending you properties every day, they're ready to go out and show. Ready is more like, it's still kind of more of a mental state, but it's also, I think what I do like about this is it's prepared to make strategic decisions now. As a good fiduciary, and you know, whether you're working with a buyer or seller, before it's time to write an offer, you should have went over potential, like when it says strategic, a great step is to review some of the documents that they're going to be needing to review, because it's guaranteed it's going to be 7 p.m. on Friday night, and you're trying to get an offer in, and this is the first time they've ever talked about the purchase contract, all the contingencies throughout it. So a great strategy, it can be a little overwhelming for some people, but like depending on, especially based on your personality style of the client that you're working with, they're like are you guys familiar with DISC? Have they done any DISC in this? DISC? Yep. So high C personality are like your accountants, your engineers, people that are very like detail oriented, process oriented, you know, reviewing the purchase agreement. It would behoove you to meet with them to go over maybe line by line the contract, because if you're trying to send them something via DocuSign, you guys use, right? To use DocuSign at 8 p.m. on a Friday night, they're going to want to read every line, right? So some of the strategic pieces of what is it? Yeah, exactly. Very similar. This is the kind of the mainstream assessment, but it's very similar. KPA is more personality assessment, but they're similar. And you don't want to use it to prejudge people too much, but it can be a great way to understand, like, because every category and everybody's a blend of all of them. You know, I'm like a DC or CD, but a lot of salespeople are high I, which is very like influencer, like influential. They get energy. It's kind of how you get energy as well. They're the life of the party. We all know them. You know, D's are typically, all of us within sales typically have a decent amount of the drive-driven side of it, direct. It's like the speed with which it's definitely worth like reviewing. And actually, I don't know if KW has a class on that, but we do some trainings on that too specifically. So kind of going over the profile and also knowing what you are. You can actually, if you Google Tony Robbins DISC, you can get a free assessment. They'll try to upsell you. You don't have to do that, but it's a good baseline to kind of get an understanding of yourself. And
What's the S?
stable service, yeah, stable and service. It's like it's a lot of our transaction coordination, people that are very service oriented, supporting that type of thing. So, but why did I go down that rabbit hole?
Yes. You said,
About
you mentioned
this.
this,
Well, in the
because people want to read contracts.
yeah. So the part about strategic decisions is maybe like if you know your buyer is going to be in a situation where it's a multiple offer kind of market, it's very fast, houses are moving quickly, you would want to strategically review with them some of the tactics you would potentially use to win. Like, well, what is an escalation clause? Maybe we need to offer our buyer or the seller post-closing occupancy. That's a strategy to potentially make your offer more attractive. Like, if you're just springing those concepts on your buyer or seller at the 11th hour, it's a little bit more difficult conversation. So that can be a good thing to do as well. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here's your answer. Yeah. So what do we got here? We have A, B, and C. This is how KW and I believe Command classify these opportunities. So able, ready, and willing to do business in 0 to 14 days is an A buyer or seller. B is 15 to 60, and C is 61 plus. Again, that's a rule of thumb. And ready to transact, what does that mean? I mean, that could be sign a commitment to work with you. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy a house in 14 days or less. But it really is a way, you were talking about like prioritizing your day. It's a way to look at who should you, like how often you should be touching or connecting with somebody. If you have somebody classified as an A client, whether they're signed already like a buyer broker agreement or a listing agreement, like the communication like frequency should be more often because they're wanting to do something sooner than later. And so by putting somebody in B, so like each day you would be wanting to look at your A list as you have categorized it, clear those to-dos, and do those check-ins, and do those follow-ups. And then with B, same deal, like I would have to clear your A list, you're gonna check your B list. And within Command and within our CRM as well, there's different ways those smart lists work where you can actually set it up. Like you can look at the A list and see like, oh, this group I haven't communicated, these 5 people in my A list I haven't talked to in over 2 weeks. I definitely need to hit them. And same thing with B and C. So you can set those parameters up within the system. Yeah, so with A clients, I mean, the main goal really is to, you're trying to get an appointment. Like you want to get an appointment and get an agreement. The agreement is key now. A lot of agents for years have, I mean, our team has always been very buyer broker specific, like that was always part of our program. And now it's everybody's program. And so it's not to say that meetings without that are not worthwhile, but that's every buyer consult or listing agreement, you should be, or listing conversation, you should be closing for that agreement. B buyers and sellers are either unable, not ready, or not willing right now. So they may be motivated, but something needs to happen first. So meeting with them and kind of consulting with them, it's talking about the frequency and intensity. You're trying to move your B's to A's because it may just be an objection that they need to handle. Maybe it is they need to talk to a lender to clarify debt to income, credit, whatever it may be. Are you guys familiar with BOFRs? You heard that term?
Oh, I heard it yesterday for the first time.
Yeah.
Big offer for immediate response.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
that-
So that is a great, I mean, it's kind of a silly acronym, but it really is, you should figure out what your BOFRs are going to be You don't need 10 or 5 even. You really need maybe one for buyers, one for sellers, or maybe a couple. And Keller Williams has a lot of them, like the Chabris Group specifically for buyers is our love it or leave it guarantee. And what a MOFR is really it's it's an offer for immediate response. You're trying to elicit a response, interest, create a reason for them to want to meet with you, to understand, to learn more about it. You're not giving them all the goods on the phone per se. That's a reason to meet, but a MOFR would be like for us, it's our love it or leave it guarantee. So when we're working with the buyer, we basically will guarantee they'll love their home or we'll sell it within 12 months of owning. So the first 12 months of home ownership, if they don't absolutely love it, we'll turn around and we'll sell it for free. So that's interesting because the way we script it is like buyers have not typically heard of anything like that. It's definitely a differentiator. And so you want to try to come up, it could be maybe yours is a great one for buyers would be access to off-market listings. So I'm a part of a brokerage, has over 250 agents, and we're constantly networking, and there's new listings that are being signed. So one of my opportunities for clients that are working with me specifically is access to those listings before they actually hit the MLS and everybody's picking through them. And that would be something you'd be interested in, right? Great. Let's meet Thursday at 4 or Friday at 5. So I think nailing those down and having yours specifically. Can you guys think of any others, MOFRs?
I think we were talking on our value proposition that we have to offer.
Yeah.
Offer.
Sure. Yeah, I think yesterday was not buyer seller specific. It was like how to make an opportunity.
Yeah.
To get them to convert sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a little different.
Well, a buyer lead or a seller lead, or both, or
I
just
think
all
just
leads.
any lead.
Well, I think that's worth thinking through them. I mean, because it could be maybe they have a concern around rates. Well, if you nail down with your preferred lender, maybe they have some sort of special program right now. You just want to have, these are all like tools in your tool belt, that you can pull again to create, you're trying to elicit that immediate response to get in front of it. Because otherwise they think, well, we're not ready to buy a house, we're not ready to meet, because we're not ready to pull the trigger, right? So what's the purpose?
So what would be a MOFR for a seller?
It could be, yeah, it could be the type of marketing package that you do. It could be, what could it be? So we have one of ours is an instant offer program, or basically prepare a cash offer. Could be it if that's interesting. Sometimes it depends, but it could be a cash offer program, like a guaranteed sale program. It could be, it could be some of the incentives of the package, like what you offer with that, like with the listing process. That's a little more on the marketing side. You don't necessarily want to pitch like, those are probably the best ones: instant offer, guaranteed sale.
How do you say that as an agent? Say, I guarantee your house will sell.
Well, there's stipulations, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
or
why
I bring it to, I will
that's
bring
why-
you a cash offer.
Right, correct.
It's not-
But how do you bring a cash offer?
I mean, I know, but how do you say, I will bring you a cash offer? You don't.
Well, you're not guaranteeing the offer.
Okay.
You're not guaranteeing the number. There's certainly stipulations and asterisks. So that's the whole point, is to try to create, and I think it depends. I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily spouting an instant offer or a cash offer for every buyer. If there's a need or a concern around timing, maybe they need to bounce so quickly, they're worried about condition. That could be something as well. So like for us, it's like we talk about like Open Door makes cash offers on homes. You as an agent, I believe you guys have access to, I think it's just general. You can solicit a cash offer from Open Door on behalf of your sellers. Again, whether it's going to be a certain number, you don't have any control over that.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, because you're networked in your agent's brokerage,
Correct.
you know that you can find somebody who has a connection to an investor or a cash buyer or a service.
Right.
Who would offer a cash offer, not necessarily what they may want.
Yeah, sure.
Or even
we're not guaranteeing the sale at, like,
$300,000.
overpriced, right, if it's worth 250 especially, but yeah, there's typically so one
But
of
it
the,
might not even be at market.
correct,
Because
Exactly.
a lot of cash buyers, they buy below market.
correct, that's exactly.
And investors.
Yeah, so, well, and there's your thing, I mean, there you go, like, I'll get you an offer, right, and they're gonna be hesitant for sure, and that's the thing, like, I think it's just about having different options, because that may be intriguing enough to just get in the door, and then when they really look at the math, well, no, even as is, we would be better off putting it on the MLS and selling to the market, because that's where the most amount of eyeballs are gonna see it. I think another one that we typically will do, because people are worried about, having a bunch of people through their house. So one of the things we do when we sign a new listing or we're meeting with a seller, we put them into what we call everybody does it. It's basically a pocket list. When you sign an agreement, and it's not on the MLS, it's technically a pocket list. What sometimes is attractive to sellers is like, well, is there an opportunity to, because of how networked we are, a team of 40 agents and a brokerage of 250 people, like, we have the opportunity to potentially find the right buyer that's willing to pay you what you're looking for and be flexible on timing, because they're getting a first look at the property and you're not having to deal with the open houses. Now, you're not guaranteeing, like, I'm not saying for sure that's going to be your best buyer. It may make sense in 15 days, 30 days, 60 days for us to go ahead and proceed with their traditional style. But one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through almost like a test market, off market first, get some feedback, good, bad, ugly, and then we're going to go to market if we have to. And so that's interesting to people a lot of times as well.
Yeah, so you could phrase that as like, I use the leverage of my Keller Williams brokerage to get a large amount of agents through on an agent open house or is it agent?
Yeah, like a broker open or
Broker
agent.
open, okay.
Yeah.
So broker open to get the pop listing out into the network. So that's the offer you could make.
Yep.
Which just that language might set you apart from somebody else.
Absolutely. Well, it's all about, whatever you're promising or offering, you should be willing to do. There's definitely been agent, I know that kind of goes without saying, but it's still we say it, because there are agents that say they're going to do X, Y, Z, or we're going to postcard the area, we're going to do X, Y, Z in the neighborhood, and they just don't. There's another tool within, kind of in that same vein, that we don't always do it, but we do offer if it's a very, maybe it's a highly competitive listing we're trying to take, or we just think it may be just difficult within the MLS. Have you guys looked at the reverse prospecting function before? So under you, when you're on I don't think you can access it on the mobile app, which that thing, yeah. Go to the web page. Under contacts, there's a drop down. It's reverse prospecting. You can actually plug in the details of a listing if it's not listed, or even if it is, and it will create a list of agents that have searches set up that property falls into. And so one of the things we also offer, so that when we're trying to kind of create some competitive advantage in the gap between us and maybe another agent, is we're going to reverse prospect to these agents. Now, of course, when we put it in the MLS, it's going to hit those guys, but we're going to proactively reach out to this list of 12 agents who have buyers that they have searches set up, and because of my team and how we work and yada yada, whatever your unique value proposition is, I'm gonna reach out to each of these. I'm gonna cold call, I'm gonna call them, I'm gonna email, whatever it is, because most agents you're trying to differentiate yourself with the standard sign in the yard, put it on the MLS, and let other people sell it. Yeah, it's likely gonna sell with another agent, with another buyer from another brokerage, because there's 6,000 of us. We should employ the entire MLS. However, it's our job to just get as many eyeballs, because agents are not necessarily scouring the internet every time something hits. So you putting it in front of their lap or putting it, serving it up on a silver platter is a differentiator. And sellers believe, they see that activity and that action as value, because that's different than what typical agents are doing. So
it's saying I'm going to direct market to, I like to repeat.
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
I'm going to direct market to this area's agents with set up searches in your neighborhood.
Correct.
And I'm going to
Correct. Yeah, now direct market, what is, I mean, I would challenge, like, what is that? You know, so it's like being specific on what you will do and what you won't do. So for me personally, I'm probably not gonna have the time or want to spend the money, or just, there may be not enough time to get something printed. And what does that look like? So it's probably email, it's probably phone calls, and that could be sufficient. So I would just clarify, because if that's two separate things you're doing, spelling out those two separate things sounds more compelling than just direct one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like, I would direct email them
Mm-hmm.
because the patients have set up search in your location, and I'm gonna email it to direct market.
Yeah.
Um, to their.
To their client.
To their client.
Yeah.
And you could, then you could say, if you wanted to, you could say, and I'm gonna call at least 10 brokerages that are in that list
Mhm.
to directly notify them their house is listed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could even glean it down even further. It's like, you know, I've got maybe curated sounds too fancy, but like, I've got I have a targeted list of agents that have buyers. Now, they may be that they should, that have buyers right now with searches set up where your home fits into that criteria. I'm going to call, text, email. I would just probably spell it. I'm going to call, text, email each of those agents to make sure that they're aware of your home, hitting the market, coming to market, whatever that is, to have a conversation directly, rather than it just passively. And you're trying to differentiate, rather than passively hitting their inbox or their buyer's inbox and getting missed. The other thing you can do with that, if you're maybe the best agent for that home that has a buyer doesn't have a list, they probably would have a search set up. Another thing you can do is actually do a search and see, are you guys familiar with like the area and zip codes in the MLS? You know how those work?
Oh, it's such a pain.
I know. It is,
I
I don't understand. But let's say,
Yeah.
so like, Lebanon is E13, LE, and TC for Turtle Creek Township.
Yeah.
So if I knew my house fell in Lebanon School District, you can actually do a search and determine who are your highest producing agents by buyer count in a specific market in the past 6 months or past 12 months. And so that can create another targeted list. Now I'm way off base with like, we're not prospecting anymore right now, but like, this is not
Was
what.
that another function of the reverse prospecting?
It's not in reverse. No, it's actually, you can do that for anything. It's under standard search. I'd have to show you, 'cause I don't know that one as well, but you do a standard search and there's a link across. Once you set up your search criteria in the bottom, you can go up to the top, and I think it's under like stats, or it's like market reports or something like that. I can show you guys when we're done, if that's worthwhile. But it is an interesting, because it's also a good way, and you can kind of use it if you're planning to be targeted to a specific area or going to farm eventually. So what we've always used that function for is like, who is the dominant player? Does somebody have more than a certain percentage of the market? Is this worth me, dedicating time, energy, effort in trying to, displace them, or should I go find a different spot?
I think this is very valuable because it helps us convert
Yeah,
and able to.
yeah, it's just finding. Yeah, it's like, well, it's a differentiator. It's trying to think of other things because, depending on if you have a slide deck presentation or you're just doing it more conversationally, being able to sew specific things in. It's like everybody's putting on the MLS, everybody's syndicating it to 250 websites, everybody's going to have it on Zillow and Realtor. Those aren't differentiators. So being able to explain like why you deserve to charge 3% on your side or 4%. I mean, that's what our listing agreement typically pre-fills to that. We're pushing because we outperform the market based on our stats. And that's another 4.3 or 4.2 or 4.3. We charge our listing agreement. We charge 4%. I'm not price fixing. 4 bananas. Oh, live streaming. Yeah. Well, I think it's live, but regardless, yeah. So we're not committing the seller to the buyer broker agreement at all. That's per deal, per offer is what we typically say. But it's up to the seller ultimately.
Right.
I think it is. No, you're good. back to us. So just wrapping up seeds. So the last thing, just to tie that down. So seeds are no immediate need to transact. These are perfect candidates for longer term nurturers. Those action plans that are inside of command as well, like the 36 touch. I think because did you do a
Yeah.
was that last week or yesterday?
Hammered that.
Hammered the 36 touch plan. Okay, great. Let's see. Okay, so. Yeah, anything?
I love the reverse prospecting idea, that's new to me.
Yeah. It's a cool tool. It's like, it's kind of varied and people don't really, I mean, the reality is most people just don't have the bandwidth to just proactively do it, you know, at the end of the day. But I feel like, and I'm not sitting here saying we do it for every seller per se. But it's a closing tool. If I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And typically it's a good practice, maybe even before you offer that, because like that list could be fit. You know, maybe their house is very unique at that price point, in that location, in that area, like maybe there's not a lot of that. And there's some other reports and things that would be beneficial we can talk about too. Okay, so here we're getting into qualifying buyers and sellers. So we're going to get into kind of questions and conversations around that. Let's see. Just love all these transition slides. So win-win, document, follow a checklist, divide up your housing. Okay. I guess do you guys have any, like, what are some advantages to actually qualifying leads? Like, what's the benefit of that?
Solve a problem for you.
Yeah.
You know exactly what they want you to do, what they expect from you.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yep. Anything else? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Like how do you, what's the benefit of qualifying leads and having these conversations, like and figuring out where they are, A, B, C, ready, able, willing, you know, what's the benefit of
I think it helps you set your day, like you said, going through your A checklist before moving to your B's
Yeah.
and C's.
Yeah, so time management priority. Yeah. You know, it can also be it could be about messaging or frequency as well. Like, you know, within command, it could be different drip plans based on timing. It could be changing messaging around, like, you know, if you have a group or certain leads that do have issues with credit, well, okay, like let's tweak that message for that. Maybe it's about they need to sell before they can buy. So that messaging is like, okay, what kind of solutions do I have? Oh, we have a lender that can help you get qualified to sell to go buy a home, non-contingent, compete effectively, then list your home. What does that look like? So it's just like, you know, it's strategizing, it's being solution oriented, not just like, oh, that's going to be tough, you know, and moving on. Because like, I don't know, how many of your deals that you guys have done are just like slam dunk, beginning to end, like no issue, no drama, no problem solving. Like there are some, don't get me wrong, like I don't want to like, oh, no, like this. but truly, like how many are really that straightforward and clean cut? Very rare, right? There's always something. There's always a snag. There's always a little bit of a hiccup, or you've got to like, oh, I got to strategize. What did I miss? Yeah, that's something. I feel that. Yeah. Or it's like, what are the next bill going to be? Yeah. No, it's true. And as you do, volume will bring. I mean, volume. I mean, I'm talking about volume because our team is a volume shop. I mean, it's not quantity necessarily over quality, but like the more transaction, the more pipeline, the bigger your pipeline. If you have one deal that's under contract and that's your one deal and you're like clinging to that, you stop the prospecting and then that deal gets delayed or goes sideways or terminates, and then the buyers change their mind or the sellers change their mind, like you're back to zero. So having a full pipeline and having multiple transactions happening, it can kind of account for it, and stabilize your business, and create that consistency. But yeah, very few are that straightforward. So I think that's where having solutions and having, ways to stick all that or figure that out. So like it talks about RA buyers need to know what listings are available right now to put the home list, while C buyers might be interested in changes in the current neighborhood, like restaurant shopping. So that's more high level, less specific. So with this, by qualifying and categorizing effectively, in most, unless you're going back to the NIS, unless you're a high C, really thinking about your data and about systems, and you like that kind of thing, like most agents fail forward with the tech and tagging and qualifying. But the more tight that is, the better you're going to be as an agent. Like the systems and processes.
Like that's,
Have you heard that like the whole way through?
well, we've heard it all the way through, but like, I know that in my prior business, when I just was like, oh, I do this method, and I do that method, and I switch all around, I couldn't gain traction. And as soon as I decided on my system, and then work that system to the end of the day forever, and everybody on the team worked that system, it was an exponential growth and success. So that's the one thing I think for me that I've said to everybody. Just get your funnel. What are you doing with that?
Yeah.
Besides funnel?
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I mean,
Yeah.
frankly,
Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
especially like, well, okay, you're not just focused on buyers, you're not just focused on sellers. The processes can be similar in some ways, but also not. And I think we tend to, because there is a lot of complexity. There's so many options and ways to do command even, it can be overwhelming. And so I think, like, to your point, like, I think what helped, I was very analysis paralysis when I was trying to get going with real estate. Like I was really the beginning of 2016. I was licensed for a couple years. In 2016 is when I started. Okay, I'm going to start doing some expires and FSBOs, and I was like watching YouTube videos and like getting scripts, and but I was like constantly. I was doing more like research and analysis and overanalyzing than I was actual prospect, and just picking something and just going. And the one thing that when I joined Peter, like I just stopped questioning all of it, and I just said, Pete, okay, here's the script, here's the call list. When you get somebody on the phone, say this. If they say this, say that. Close for an appointment, objection handle, objection handle, objection handle. You book an appointment, you send this calendar invite, you send this templated email, you send them this packet of information. Okay, great. Now what's the next step? Prepare my CMA. Follow this checklist. I mean, it's never that perfect, but it's like, do the checklist like this, print the paperwork like this. Here's your packet for the appointment. Go on the appointment. So it was like very just
Systematized.
it seems like, well, that seems robotic or mechanic or whatever. It's like I still had to sew in like my personality and being relational, and I couldn't just read the script. That's why scripting and role play is like huge in this business, and it feels weird and it's uncomfortable and it's awkward, but it's like it really will, practicing on each other rather than failing again, with real people, is going to move the needle big. But I think, yeah, systems and processes, like if you could be a systems person, you'll go leaps and bounds in that person. So, all right, so we're going to get into the buyer lead sheet. So this is the actual pre-qual sheet. You guys do that.
Yes.
Okay, so how are we doing on time? What's time?
10:40.
Okay.
20 minutes.
So how much time?
20. Well,
Is it over?
11 usually.
Oh, it is. Okay, great. I'll go back. So we're not going to script this. Let's just run through. Have you guys have seen this before? Are you using any? Have you started talking to any buyers yet?
I am.
Okay.
I haven't seen this before.
Okay. Are you using any kind of buyer pre-qual sheet or lead sheet like this?
I'm not, but I just know what to ask.
Okay. I would, even with your conversation, like even though you know what to ask and what to say, like as soon as I get like a hot lead, or I guess an A lead or even a B lead, I start pulling the sheet out.
Yeah.
because what I found is in the heat of the moment, you skip questions, you skip, maybe there's questions you need to ask and you know you should ask, but they're uncomfortable questions, especially on the sell side, when you start talking about, mortgages, and what do they think the house is worth, and hey, are you considering interviewing any other agents? Most agents don't have the to ask the courage to ask that question before they go meet. My goal with pre-quals, buyers and sellers is I'm trying to, I'll say one shot, one kill this opportunity. I don't believe in two-step. Like, let's have a pre-appointment, extra amount, like especially with sellers, because I guess with buyers, they may come here, but if the sellers, you're going to their home. I don't want to go to someone's home, do the pre-qual in person, then have to come back to my office, do all my prep, and then go back again for another 2-hour meeting. So pre-qualifying people is like huge. So, and they call it a lead sheet, but I think it's really like, it's just a good practice, and you could make this electronic at some point, but I think having these printed off and available, like having a folder of them, I still have a stack of these next to my desk, and I brought our 2 versions of them to share, but they're very similar. I mean, it's basically the same type of stuff.
I think I didn't know this existed.
Oh, okay.
So like, when I talked to my first buyer, I was here and I wrote everything on a paper towel.
Yeah.
And I did take a sort of a picture, I put it out on Instagram. I mean, you can see any information, but I put it out, and it was funny.
That's hilarious.
The comments I got.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's real world business.
Use what you got, exactly.
But yes, I prefer this because I'm very much
Yeah. Yep. I love it. So skimming through this, I mean, some of this information is already going to be maybe in, like if you've got a stack of these in your car, like you can do this, and this is what you should be trying to put into command on the back end. Or maybe they're already in command. But I typically, even when I'm going to meet with somebody, I have this in front of me to reference. Because you typically might have had a conversation with one of the buyers or one of the sellers and not the other spouse. And so one of the key things with the consult and doing like a needs analysis is getting both sides and getting all the information and confirming it. So we'll just skim through this, but kind of things that are key, like lead sources, like digging into how they heard about you, who you were referred by. You really want to tie that back. Even if somebody says, "Oh, I found you on Google," I would try to untie. I would probably get into that later on, not maybe right off the cuff. It's more about them and less about you and your marketing and your sources. But figuring out where the lead source came from, I think, is key, because you want to put more time and energy effort into places that are generating opportunity for you. So contact information. Best way to get in touch. Okay. Is there any properties? Okay, that's a great question, because you want to find out, do they have an agent? Do they see the house with other agents? Any else? Just as we're skimming this, is there anything you guys have questions about? Probably been looking for a home, curious why you're moving. I'm going to be questioning with why questions, or be careful with why questions. Why is, you're wanting to ask why, but it's combative kind of. It's almost like startup usually. Yeah. Why is not the right way. You're asking why, but you're not saying why. So why are you moving? So typically we use versions of like what's important about. Like tell me a little bit about your move. You're like one of our scripts around that is like what's important about Lebanon School District. Not why you want to move to Lebanon. Why are you moving? It's more about, where they're headed, what's it. I don't like using what more than why. As much as possible. Renting, owning, I'm trying to think if there's anything really. Yeah, these can sometimes be tricky questions. Like, are you renting, owning? Are you paying cash? Are you getting a mortgage for the purchase of your home? People have an uncomfortable with asking those questions. So that helps you assess what's their timing? Are they ready, willing, able? Are they A, B, or C? But also to kind of frame your messaging too.
Mm-hmm. When you ask, are you currently working with a lender? Do you have a lender to work with?
Yeah.
Because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I have my bank or no, I don't, where they'll tell you they have cash. You ask if they have cash, and then they like, no, I'm an answer and I don't have.
Well, that's, I kind of, I agree, like our script for a long time was very similar to this, and we kind of tabled it, because it's kind of like, I don't know if it's meant to be, not funny, but like there's like a, oh yeah, sure, that'd be great, but it's almost like an awkward, uncomfortableness,
Yeah.
it's unnecessary. So I don't know, huh?
Crystal ball.
Yeah, if I had to wave my magic wand, yeah, we still have that for timing. One of our questions, like, you know, typical buyer, you know, your internet need or something, and you get through some of their what they're looking for and why and how and all that. But it's like, well, so, you know, if I could wave my magic wand and find you the 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Lebanon schools at 150,000, which wouldn't exist, when would be the ideal time to make a move? And it's super cheesy, but it like works like every time, because like the crystal, like the waving my magic wand it's kind of funny, but it also like it's supposed to, it like allows them to imagine, because in their mind right now they're thinking like, well, this is not, we're way out, this is 3 years away, or we have to do X, Y, Z before we move. It just allows them to kind of use their imagination, and that's kind of the point. It's like, if I could wave my magic wand and, you know, and find you the right blah blah blah, because they might also think that the house that they're looking for is a unicorn, which is it may very well be, but yeah, that's a good one.
Because the question is, how soon would you be ready? I could maybe wave my magic wand and find you X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I would open it. Well, I guess that is open. How soon would you be ready? That's like a specific date. I would say, I say, what would be the ideal time?
There you go. Thank you.
That's more, yeah. If I could wave my magic wand and find you the blah, 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 what would be the ideal time to make a move?
Thank you.
Because they're not specifically gonna be like, well, Q1, or, yeah,
Yeah, they're like,
we're thinking Q3.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And, so before you run out, could we look at that and then make copies? Okay. Because, it's the end of the month, we get better copies, y'all, to know you haven't used them.
So, I wanna go switch gears quickly to sellers. Is there anything on the buyer lead sheet? What about you guys? Do you have any ahas, anything that's different than this, like any other like tactics or things you're saying with buyers? What, you got anybody like things you're using with buyers that works well when you're pre-qualifying, you're trying to determine agency?
You kind of mentioned before, I just like to straight up that, you know, just, in fear of forgetting the fourth question, I think before they have the questions.
On there? Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think, what about you, William?
Kind of do the same thing. I would already ask you about some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I heard you were qualified.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's very, I mean, it is a lot of common sense. I think sometimes it's like, as you get busier though, it can also be quick to like shortcut things and skip steps. And I think not that pre-qual with a buyer is not important, but when you're closing for a buyer consult, so you're going to be getting back into a deeper dive of most of this anyway. I feel like on the seller side, your pre-qual, which is on the appointment, and you're really, that's like all your prep work. And so I was going to spend the rest of the time there. I think the only thing I would say lastly on 12, that question about, you know, I'd love to help you buy a home in order to help you find a perfect home. All you do is set an appointment. I would finesse that. You need your 10-second reason for them to meet with you. I'm not saying elevator pitch, don't like feature benefit dump on them, but you need to have a compelling, you could be like, well, you know, like, William, this has been great. You know, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about your family's upcoming move. I really think my team and I will be able to assist you. What I'd love to do is sit down with you guys and kind of share some of the programs we have, like our Love Your Lead Guarantee, and maybe even set up a preliminary search. I've got Thursday at 4 or Friday at 5, which would work better. Like having that, like you can just rip off whatever for buyers and or for sellers to some degree. like that quickly and easily. And it's almost, it becomes, it's a script of like delivering it confidently. Because usually what agents do, they do a great job, like getting all the things and talking about like family and blah, blah, blah. But they get weird when they get to that last, like, because you're about to ask a question where you're going to feel rejection. Like and like you had a great conversation, but then you don't close for an appointment. And it's like, okay, well, let me know if you have any questions and I'll follow up with you in a couple of weeks. And they disappear. So like, and that's kind of like getting to this, not quickly, but like, you gotta close and you should do the either or. And if you're not comfortable with, like, I've got this day or that time, like, you gotta get that. Just, you don't wanna ask when's a good time. My kind of pro tip for me and probably, remedial for you guys is like, I would have blocks on your calendar that are pre-blocked, appointment, open, 2 hours, whatever period of time, 2 or 3 hours, whatever your business plan that you reverse engineered and backed into, like I need this many, I want to close this many houses or help this many families, it's this many contacts, it's this many appointments. You should have whatever that is weekly. If it's 2 consults a week, have those blocked on your calendar. I flip them to red because I'm stop, like you need to book an appointment. And when I book that in and I put the details in, I flip it to green. So it's like green means go, green means money. So it's just a way you can quickly reference your calendar. Like I've got I'm like looking at it. As I'm getting there, I know where we're about to be. So I'll pull it up and be like, okay, I've got Thursday at 4 or I've got Friday at 5, which works best.
Yeah.
And then you can always move it around, but that's like something I do.
And I know that when I've done that close, what I have done is I've repeated what they told me.
Yeah.
And then what I'm gonna bring. So, I'm gonna bring information. You told me that you want this 3-bedroom, 2,000 open. So I'm gonna gather some information about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get all of the things that I told you and my connections that I'm gonna connect you with. What day works best? Wednesday, 2 or Thursday.
That's great.
Always.
Yeah, it's like it's a recap. I mean, I wouldn't recap all of it, but yeah, that's great. You're summarizing, you're already creating values, but then like immediately do all the things. Like, don't, it's like, right.
You gotta show up with it.
Well, right. Well, that, and also like if you delay like sending out the calendar invite and the intro email and all those steps, like say you're gonna do something, do it. That's what most agents just don't deliver. Okay. So just to kind of get to our last 7 minutes here.
I mean, no one has to run.
Well, I mean,
Like, your calendar check.
let me just make sure. Oh yeah, you're right. 11. That's fine. Okay. So seller prequel, very similar, in my opinion, is even more important that you do it, that you use. Don't do it off the cuff. Don't do it for memory. Have a pre-printed stack of these ready to roll, ready to pull out. If you're in the car and you need, electronic version, you just need something, or it could be just booking an appointment. The seller opportunities.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave these.
Okay, cool.
Seller opportunities are a little different. Like I feel like I guess you are prospecting for them as well, but typically pre-qualifying somebody typically indicates you already have an appointment that's not guaranteed, but pretty much on the books. You wouldn't go this deep with a seller that you're trying to earn the opportunity to get in front of them. That makes sense. Like if I'm trying to convince somebody to meet with me to help them sell, I'm not pre-qualifying before I've actually set the appointment. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. Like you prospecting for sellers, like I wouldn't start if like some of this will be a bit applicable, but like number 9 says, I'll be sending you a packet of information. I wouldn't be saying that unless I had an appointment booked, right? So typically this is a little bit different where it's almost like you have the appointment pretty much nailed down. This isn't a prospecting like lead sheet for the front end of the seller opportunity. Like if somebody calls you up or you're talking to somebody on the phone and they say, well, we probably need to sell before we buy. Oh, great. That's something I can definitely help you with. Have you had your home? I think there was a script actually in the buyer one that said, have you had anybody take a look at your home to kind of give you an assessment on the market value? No, we haven't. Okay, great. Well, why don't we start there? I'd be happy to come out, yada, yada. They're going to object, like, well, we're not ready, we're this or that. You're not still pre-qualifying yet. You're booking that appointment. Great. I've got 30, love to do that. I can do that assessment. I've got Thursday at 4 and Friday at 5. And actually, our script has a little bit of that on it. Once you book the appointment and it's set, our conversation that we do is kind of a transition. It's setting an expectation that I'm gonna need to do some research. If I can do it on that call, I'll go ahead and do it. But maybe they're strapped for time, they don't have enough time for me to interrogate them on the phone. So I set an expectation that, hey, between now and our appointment on Friday at 5, I'm gonna be doing some research. I wanna make sure I'm fully prepared. I'm gonna have some additional questions for you. Is this the best way to reach you? When would be a good time for me to give you a call back? Can I call you back after work today? Great. Then I'm doing this.
Yeah.
This is all the pre-work, because from this, I'm going to be able to assess the house with the CNA. I'm gonna know motivation, I'm gonna know what they owe, I'm gonna know what their perception of value is. I'm gonna know, are they interviewing other agents? I'm gonna know good, bad, ugly about the property. One of the questions we ask. The question for me, well, this is, oh, that's super. Okay, so ours is a little more depth. I mean, it's still important, this is all good stuff. How much do you know, what do you want to list, how much do you want to list the home for? I'll go through ours as well, just so you guys can see it. Is there any other questions? Yeah. You guys are familiar with touch plans. They've hammered you on that?
So much.
Okay, good. I mean, it really is. I mean, it seems like excessive, but I mean, truly, those touches, like I just had interesting enough, I just had a call from somebody I met in 2019. I assessed their house. COVID hit, we didn't list it. I have not, this is like a fail, but also a win for touches via automation. I have not called them. I think I called them maybe like right after the appointment, of course, and like followed up until COVID hit. I've not called them since 2020. Like just slipped through the cracks. You know, I kind of categorize them as cold and have been slammed. She called me yesterday. She's like, yeah, I appreciate you've been sending me a postcard every month and an email twice a month for 6 years. And I'm like, yeah, I have. Yeah, I have. I can't wait to see you guys next Monday at 5. Like, and you know, and that was at that time it was like a 400,000. It's probably like a 7. And so, like, thank goodness for touch plans and automated marketing. Truly, like setting it up will definitely help. So that's not best practice. Calling would probably be more beneficial. So this is the. Ours is that's the seller. One side is the prep. So this is more. It's a little different. We've added some stuff. So the one side is the actual appointment confirmation or pre-qual, but it really starts on the prep side. So the top, I just kind of take you through. So it sounds like we should get together and talk about selling your home. I've got Thursday at 4, Friday at 5, which is more convenient. Great, they pick a time. It sets an expectation. Great. I'm going to send you an email to confirm our appointment. It'll include, well, that's another thing. It'll include a video that I'm going to talk to watch it. Great. I'm going to be doing some research between now and our appointment time. What number is best to call you during business hours? Or I might even just, if they were hard to get on the phone, I might actually book that. Like, hey, is lunchtime best? I'll call you back at noon tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But you want to make sure that they agree, like, I need to connect with you. Because if you just say, we're set for 5 on Friday, but then you didn't get any of this, it's a waste of an appointment. You're basically going to do your pre-qual after. So then it's paused. So you're like, great, I'm going to be doing research between now. What number we got? So now this is just getting, there's some objection handling. You can gloss over that. I mean, those are just thrown on there. But then when you do call them back, if you flip the page, this is when you call them back to actually pre-qual. So when we kind of set it up to be, you don't read it like a robot, like, hey, I'm going to hit you with 20 questions. This is more conversational. You're not like saying, Travis, can you please confirm the details of your home? It's not, you're like, hey, tell me a little bit about your house. Maybe they already did, so you're just kind of recapping, having them list all this stuff. When we're talking about disc profile, how they describe their home is gonna indicate the kind of personality they are as well, frankly. You know, if you've got somebody that's like, no, we just, you know, it's this large home and we love entertaining and we have family get-togethers and yada yada, or if it's, yeah, it's a 4,252 square feet. It's got a finished lower level that we spent $10,520 on. I've got a spreadsheet with all the, like, you know, kind of your personalities, which can help you present better. Talk about improvements. You ask them what their favorite feature is about the home, just so you can turn around and say, recognizing the home is perfect. Is there anything about the home that you think or what's like your least favorite? Or is there anything that you think might adversely impact or negatively impact the sale of the property? You're trying to find out, like, what's ugly about the baby. Like, is there a water tower next by, a railroad that hits 2 times a day? Are there neighbors got like 4 cars in the backyard, you know, that are on, you know, blocks or something? Because those things can impact value and your marketability when you get there. Why are they moving? What's important about that? Not why. If I can wait for a magic wand, what's the perfect time? Discuss logistics. That's a key one too, to kind of know before you arrive. Like, tell me a little bit about like your timing. We're talking about where you're headed. How do you plan? Because like sometimes people have a misunderstanding, like they don't even think through. If I sell my house, even if I'm buying a house, that I have to have some plan in between. And a lot of people just don't even, it's like they don't even think about it. So you want to, I used to not really dig into it. It would come up before usually, but if I'm sometimes get to the appointment, they'd be like, oh yeah, we can only make one move. We have 2 German Shepherds and we don't have any family local. I would rather be prepped for that going in, so I can kind of spitball some ideas. Like, yeah, plan A is to do this, but plan B may be short-term housing or a rental or whatever, you know, it's in this thing. The rest is pretty straightforward. Asking about value, what do they want to list the home realistically? Question.
Yeah, so how do you, I mean, people very much would be like, oh, I saw on Zillow or my neighbor's house sold for,
That's why I bring it up.
and they say, well, we want, you know, 450, and your CMA shows 410, 4.5.
Well, at this point, I haven't CMA'd them yet. I haven't done the CMA
Okay.
at this point. I'm getting all the information
This
to,
is-
this
this
is
is
free,
phone
this
call,
is a
yeah.
call, yeah, this is on the phone. So that's why I'm asking them, after I discuss the logistics, if the line is Zillow says your home's worth 450, how do you feel about that? They might have already volunteered something, but I'm trying to trigger them, like, to just give me something. Now, they may say, well, Zillow, like, who cares about Zillow? Well, I mean, I get it, for better or worse.
Yeah.
This is live stream. I'll talk about it a little bit. It's the #1 consumer portal for real estate and all the land. So even though I don't necessarily agree or disagree, I've seen Zillow's estimates that are spot on, and I've seen some that are not. I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because you're just trying to create a conversation. Well, that's too high, or that's too low, or it sets a baseline, so to kind of open the conversation. They could say, well, our neighbor, they may not even address Zillow, they may say, well, we had some neighbors that sold for 450. The next line kind of indicates where that is, like, but ours is this much larger, this much nicer, that place is trash, they have cats, whatever. Like, so then the next line is really the most key. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, taking notes, whatever.
Yeah.
When we meet then, you know, how much do you want to list the home for realistically? And that, sometimes they might say the same number. 9 times out of 10, they're gonna give you a number of some sort. Occasionally, you'll get somebody that's like, well, I've got an idea, but I'd really like to hear your perception once you see it. That, I hate those people, but it's part of it. I mean, it's like, I totally get that. I'm just trying to get an understanding of what your perception of value is and what your expectation is, because, and I might even call it out. I might say, like, I'm not the type that's going to sugarcoat or tell you what you want to hear, but I also want to understand what winning looks like to you. And so, because like another part of that, I don't always talk about net, but I might bring up, if he says a number, I might say, well, is there a certain amount of money that you need to net in order to sell your home? Because sometimes people have picked a price based on what they want to net. And maybe they have a misunderstanding around, what the cost of sale is gonna be. Or maybe they want to net a certain number because they're planning to pay off things that have nothing to do with the real estate, like credit cards or student loan or some other, I just want to understand like, what's their whole plan with the money and how that plays out. Do you have a mortgage, second mortgage, HELOC? For a while, we were asking if anybody was doing forbearance. We've stopped asking about that now.
Oh, that's
What you call that? Forbearance. Forbearance. It was a post-COVID thing. People could defer their mortgage. I don't think I ended up actually selling maybe one home.
So we had a property that I just sold it last October, for sale by owner, and we had forbearance from COVID. So during COVID, if you had a mortgage, the government guaranteed or subsidized or worked a deal with bankers, where you could stop paying your mortgage for whatever, 6 months, but they banked that and then you a payment outside of your mortgage. So like on our payoff, when I looked at my bank at that one number, but then when I called bank for payoff, it had that number that I could see plus the forbearance, or like $12,000. That's forbearance. So it can come, and consumers might want to know about it, even though they didn't. They might forget because it's not on their line, either on the face. They don't see it. You never see
It's
it.
not a bad, title did clear it up. We've kind of stopped asking, because maybe just haven't run into it much, but it's certainly something to be aware of. It could play into the numbers potentially, depending on how long they own the home. So.
It wasn't a big deal. We said, I'll try to start.
Yeah.
Can be a
Well,
surprise.
just factor in, right, well,
They forget.
if you're basing your net number on something, because at the appointment, specifically with listings, part of the process would be doing a net sheet, which is basically like the breakdown of their cost of sale. So, typically, there's different versions, there's one on MLS, it's really good, that you can use, it's templated. We have like an Excel doc, it's or Google sheet, it's like created with different formulas and 3 scenarios. So if we sell at 350, here's what your net would be, 325 and 300. And so you can fill those blocks in with the different costs of sale, commission, transfer tax, title fees, closing costs, taxes, whatever, maybe loans, forbearance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Real quick, I just
Yeah.
wanted to hit on this last box here.
Yeah.
So you say you make the appointment, you're like, yeah, just, like I'll come by, we'll set up an appointment where we'll set up at the kitchen table.
Mhm.
I'll tour the home as if I'm the buyer. We'll sit down, discuss marketing and strategies. I'll bring paperwork, I'll bring some comparables, we'll talk about it. If you're ready to get going, just sign in.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I was gonna say you didn't finish it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly right. So we added this because it used to be like a more, old school sales trainer, like, when we meet on Friday at 5, are you ready to hire me to be your agent? We did this to set expectations because what agents were struggling with is like you go and you do all the things, present, price, great evening, whatever, and then it's like you're right at the end and the big ass is gonna happen, or you start pulling paperwork out of your folder and they're like, whoa, we're not, like, we didn't know, we just thought this was kind of like preliminary, or we're not quite ready to make it. So this is like the last thing that should be said before you get off the phone, before you meet with them, is setting an expectation. And it's not straight to the point, direct, like, and on Thursday at 5, are you planning to hire me? Or, it softens it a little bit, but it just sets expectations. So it's like, do you have any questions, topics you want to make sure I cover? Great. So the Travis, what to expect? So when I get there, I like to set up the kitchen table, because I'm going to have a few things to share with you. And then I want to tour the home as if I'm a buyer, like first impression, as if I'm a buyer. We'll then sit down, we're going to discuss marketing, pricing, strategy, the marketing strategy, and any other questions you guys have. And I'm also going to bring along, so that's the transition. I'm also going to bring along all the paperwork, the disclosures, the listing agreement, et cetera. Because if you guys are feeling comfortable and confident working with me and the team, I'm going to get the process started right away. Sound good? they might give you an objection, and they're like, well, I don't know if we're gonna be, well, that's fine, I don't care about that, I'm just setting the tone, like, I'm coming prepared with all this stuff, because I don't want it to be that, because like,
You're priming them for it, so you don't show up full of documents.
Yeah, exactly, because most agents are more like, it's meet and greet, it's walkthrough, it's tour, it's kind of pre-qual in person. Then they go do their CMA. I mean, I've had plenty of appointments where I'm at the table, we've wrapped up, and they're like, and we're about to do paperwork, and they're like, okay, so you probably need to go and do some, do you need to like pull some numbers? And they're like, oh no, already, like that's after marketing, and I'm like, I go straight into pricing. Because you've got about 90% of the data before you even look at that place that you need to make a decision. Now, have I certainly walked into something like, okay, this isn't what I expected, and had to,
We have 17 cats,
Well,
they didn't mention it.
we're over time, guys, but the whole, what I was gonna say is like, but you can also, when you pick a price on that day, it's also just a placeholder. Like, you're not going to market, you're not going to the market that day. Like, you might say, well, based on the information that I have, I'm gonna do some additional research, but I think the right strategy for now would be 300. It could be a month before they hit the market, 300 may not be accurate. Right now, if you sign a listing in June, and it's not hit the market yet, you don't wanna go with that June price that you did. You're gonna wanna reassess and pick a different price, so that's part of the expectations too, but yeah, that piece, like your version of that script, I would use every time before you go on the appointment, because they need to understand like what to expect. And you can even, I don't think that's on the buy side, but you can do the same thing.
So there's it on that, yeah.
Perfect, our next step is to meet together and do 3 things. Blah, 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 everything looks good, we're gonna get to work. Because again, you're educating buyers now, it's a little different, because you need to sign paperwork before you can get the house.
And if they give you an objection, like, well, it's gonna be with another agent, great, because that can solve itself by the time you get to them.
Yeah.
Like that agent could now respond to that, when I call them back, they get ticked off, they, whatever they need, that they're not pressed, whatever the objection they had might solve itself. You don't necessarily have to solve every objection, just get.
Yeah, right. So any other questions, ahas, thoughts?
No, great.
I don't think it was, I don't think it was what we were supposed to review exactly, I guess it was, or ABC, Ready, Willing, Able.
No, that's good.
Very good. Better when we go off.
That's
You
right.
learn more.
I didn't know this for, I was just like, I typically teach when to seller, which I think would be done with that, but sellers is more what I spent the bulk of my business and time on, so. Yeah. But I mean, truly, like the prequels are key, it's like, just prepares you, it removes objections, it figures out conditions, it's a time saver, it's not, it helps save them time, but also helps save you time, figuring out how to prioritize. Because you're gonna get buyers, especially buyers, you're gonna get people that are not, they need to do things to move the process forward. And if they're not willing to take a call from a lender, fill out an application, get their credit pulled, like if they're not willing to follow through, like you can spin your wheels for weeks and weeks or months and months.
Right. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. These are very
Yeah.
handy and awesome.
Absolutely. And if you guys, I don't know if I gave you my contact information, but if you guys have questions, follow up, you can call. Well, here, I'll just give you, I think I've called. You just text or call me. Because we have a lot of different templates like that.
Thank you.
How many more sessions do you guys have?
I think it goes to the end of the month, maybe we just have
I
next
think
week.
Well, I thought we went into September a little bit. Oh, nice card.
Two minutes.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, you got, I know you got mine.
Cool.
All right.
You're like, this is the business card that you feel guilty throwing away. So you don't throw it away.
Great.
Oh, yeah, lots of things.
James, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Absolutely. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.